How sweet it is! Episode 100 to be loved by you nerds. What is up? It's me, your buddy pal, HeyArcher. I already said it. Welcome back to HeyArcher Live, episode 100. I am so happy to have you guys here with me today as my headphones short out, but it's fine. I can kind of hear it. It's cool. Yeah, episode 100. Who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd be here? You, me, special guests, drinks. It's a damn party. We're jumping. We're hitting the buttons early on this one. Here we go. I should have had some cans to like knock the beer cans, but you know, I that would have been great. We have tech difficulties all the time. I think the best tech difficulty would have been from all the gear getting ruined by beer smashing in the air. I think that would have been a nice topper to episode 100. But if you're new here, welcome to HeyArcher Live, your weekly nerdy show. Sit back, relax, enjoy a beverage, and of course, talk nerd shop. In the house today for episode 100. I've had so many awesome people on this show. Some of them are here in the chat, but we have a first timer on the show, a living legend himself. We have the Prince of Plastic. We have Daddy's Home. Pause. I always struggle with that one, but that's all right. We'll keep moving. The Ayatollah of rock and rolla, the Mad Collector, is in the house today. And of course, Mark's in the house. General Kenobi, Aaron Waller, Billy Nichols. It's a party. It's a good time. So yeah, we're going to talk all things nerdy with the Mad Collector himself. But of course, as I like to say, without further ado, for you, Lenny, gotta hit the drum roll every single time. There he is, the man himself, the Mad Collector, Sentri, the Mad Collector in the house. Sir, how are you doing today?
What's up, Poppy? The Daddy's Home bothers you, huh? That's good. That's interesting. That's good feedback. That's good. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to go hevier on that. I'm giving you the Oldberg every time. I'm giving you the Oldberg.
Well, I love that. I absolutely love that. Sir, it is an honor to have you on the other side of the screen today. Before we dive into all of that, I got to, of course, shout out all the legends in the house. Aaron Waller, one late night man. Another legend right there, Billy Nichols in the house. And as I mentioned, General Kenobi in the house.
There he is.
Love it, love it, love it. And Nathan Bowden. Woo, the heavy hitters. The heavy hitters are coming in today. Dude, yeah, like I said, my brain is like, so thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. Episode 100, crazy. That's awesome. That's amazing. Congratulations. That is something to be very proud of. I just mentioned it to you off the air, but you're, very easily could argue into me the most professional live show podcast, all of that. Even, I mean, your pre-recorded stuff, all very well done, all authentic. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Dude, that means so much. It's funny, the very first episode, for those of you who don't know, it was during all the lockdowns, and a bunch of us here in the chat also met on this other YouTuber, Pat Flynn, on his stuff. He had a daily show going on, and one day I was like, I'm just gonna do a live, just using the webcam off the laptop, answer some questions about YouTube, and see what happens, and who knows what happens from there. But 2 years later, we're here doing this live show with all of you, and toy hunting that came out of nowhere.
Time flies.
But before we even go into all of that, I like to ask every single guest on the show, what was it? What was that nerd moment? What was that thing that happened in your life that screwed you up, that you would be spending all your money, wrestling tickets, collectibles, statues, midnight showings of movies? What was that pivotal moment?
I think for me, so I'm vibing to the background music. I love the,
yeah.
I mean, the intro, the whole thing. I loved it. The one thing it's more than just one thing, I would say, that got me into just everything, collecting in general. I think the toy line that got me into action figures was definitely Playmates TMNT.
Yeah. Shout out.
That toy line, late 80s, I was 7-ish, whatever it was, 6, 7, 8. And I remember one of my buddies at the time, rip, but he had it was either Donatello or Raphael sitting on his desk in first grade. And I looked over at him. I was like, he's like, yo, he didn't say yo, but he's like, check this out. Check this out. I'm just like,
wait, hang on. We're painting the picture here. Is this New York City?
This is New York City. This is Westchester, New York.
There we go.
This is Westchester, New York, where I am currently, actually.
Yeah.
A few towns over, actually, from where this happened. Yes. And I remember he had these action figures on his desk, and he turned around. And he's like, "Hey, check this out." And I just remember looking at it, and I was like, my mind was blown. And that really that toy line started, and I wouldn't even say, like, I collected more than I think I played with my toys.
Really?
As a kid. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was big into Lego. I mean, I'll always consider myself a Lego guy, even though it's not a part of my, current collection.
Yeah,
but
you don't talk about it at all.
No, I mean, like, you'll see some of it on my Instagram. I used to be heavy into Lego. Like in my adult life, around 2008, 2009, 2010, I'd follow. There's this channel called The Brick Show. They're not around anymore. And a couple of other random channels. But I had a big mock castle display in my bachelor pad at the time, but Lego, I think, growing up, pirate ships, the entire pirate set, anything, the original Knight's Castle that came out, that set, and I think there was, what else? I'm a sword and sorcery kind of guy, so
is that what led to the Mythic Legions thing?
Stuff. I wasn't like a big I was always a big I wasn't really a big like licensed guy. I just love the Lego Castle stuff, which didn't get a lot of love because it wasn't licensed. But early 90s Lego, TMNT Playmates, Turtles, Crash Test Dummies, Tycho, which doesn't get talked about a lot. I have some original Tycho shippers. Shout out to Zombie Sailor, my buddy. I have some original Tycho toy lines here that you guys will eventually see once I get this fruit cellar, Norman Bates-esque basement situated and all set up, which is sooner than later. But
love it. That dangerous.
I mean, those are.
I just want to say real quick though that's dangerous down there. You have so much space. That's going to be a museum in no time.
No, I don't want that. I don't want the museum. No, I don't want the museum feel. I want a collection feel. So I'm not down here. I've mentioned it before. It's like about 1,700 square feet, but I'm going to carve out like 660 of that, close it off, and that'll be the collection room. Because I also, for a couple of different reasons, I don't want anyone walking down these stairs and then it just being out in the open. My dog, which I love more than most people, will never see the light of day down here. I'm very OCD with all of this stuff. So, and then eventually, God willing, if I ever have kids one day, they ain't seen the light of day down here either. So, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure everything is closed off. And I want it to have more of a concentrated feel. I mean, I do collect. It's probably the most focused I've had my toy collecting my entire life right now, believe it or not. But I want to try to keep it as focused as possible to make it feel like an actual collection and not really a museum. So we'll see. But that's the plan. And then on the outside of that will be like the alcohol stuff and everything else. So it should be good.
I just want to say shout out to all the people who like and love their pets more than humans.
Yeah, man. I'm so shame on me. I should have. The one time I don't actually fix the jerseys. That's really.
I should have given you the heads up.
What are you drinking? You're a Britain liquor guy. What is that?
So I am a whiskey / bourbon on the rocks guy. Today,
Love it.
Actually, apropos, if that's the right word here,
Yeah.
Taconic Distillery in New York.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, very apropos. I
get-
have actually not had that.
This is I imagine you could find it at a liquor store in your area. Up here, the only place I've seen it is Italy, of all places.
Really?
Yeah, so weird. And I've actually grown to like it.
Italy's cool.
What about you? What's the drink of choice there?
Lately, Hill Rock. And I've turned into, I haven't really turned into, but like I used to hate Scotch whiskey, but I've grown accustomed to Johnny Blue. It's the only label out of Johnny I'll drink. Glenlivet.
Shout out that man for that.
Do the 12. But overall, Hill Rock bourbon, even Monkey Shoulder on just a random day, nothing special. That's a go-to of mine.
You like nice
Woodford.
things. You like nice things.
Yeah, you have to. You have one life to live, you know?
You only got one.
Yeah, my job drives me to drink anyway, so it's a nice balance. It's a nice balance. It's a nice balance.
If you do at any point have to stand up to get the drink, I'll switch cameras. Don't worry, you can go do that and come back.
You are the most professional, so maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
You just let me know and I'll take care of it. But before we can continue, I just want to comments like this I love. So Nathan says he blames you for getting him into Mythic Legions, but only Motu versions. I could say you almost got me in those Toylanta videos. You almost got me. I
got the rest of my friends apparently. I expected to fully be hanging out with myself for those 2 days.
Yeah.
Because I knew those guys. My buddy, shout out to Motu Dubes, my buddy Nick.
Yeah.
The guy that made that crazy diorama. If you guys watched the video,
that was nuts.
He posted some of the customs he was going to bring to that show a week, leading up to it prior, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna buy all of that from you. So I hope this isn't gonna be a show and tell sort of thing, because I'm either gonna beat you up, mug you, and take it, or you're gonna sell it to me and we could be nice about it. But so I figured I was gonna be there hanging out with him and doing the Mythic Legions thing. But the funny thing is I got so caught up in other stuff. Mike OG had to bring me back, because he was like, he knew that I was going to be all about that. We were talking the day before, and I'm like, dude, I cannot wait for the Mythic Legion stuff. I wound up getting caught up looking at a Shogun Godzilla that I was thinking about buying. I was looking at some older, like, original Joes. Some TMNT Universal Monster Turtles. All of them were there. And then I got pulled away, thankfully. And yeah, there it is. Just insane.
That's wild.
Really, really cool. Yeah, and it was great to hang out with Nick, too. He's an awesome guy. Hung out with him all weekend. And then suddenly I turn around and I hear someone screaming Mythic Legions. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, why does it sound like Seth? And there he is. I don't know. So it's but it's cool, man. That's what it's all about. It's about the egregious enabling. If you go all the way back to the start of my channel, you'll see I have like some very ghetto Mythic Legions show and tells that I've done with a lot of the lines. Some of the lines you see here, but even older ones as well. So it's cool. I love Mythic Legions. I've always been like a high fantasy sort of guy. I think as far as like things that really struck a chord with me as a kid, kind of going back to the first question, or similar to the first question, Kevin Sorbo, Hercules.
Dude, I'm hitting this clapping button for you all day, dude. Keep going.
That show, because at the time I just got into Dungeons and Dragons. I started Heroes Quest. Really started the fantasy thing for me. It started with Heroes Quest, then it went to Dragon Strike, the tabletop games. And at that time, but that was like kind of it. As far as that stuff went, my mind was blown when I got introduced to the first, at the time I think it was like Player's Handbook 2.0, Monstrous Manual 2.0, and just seeing and looking at the art, reading all of the bios on the monsters and the lore and everything else. I was completely hooked, but there wasn't like by way of toys or anything that I knew of at the time, other than they did have the TSR toys out, I guess, but there wasn't anything definitely wasn't popularized, and it's still niche now, but it was very niche then. And then suddenly I was at my grandmother's house on, I think, a random holiday, and we turn on and I just remember, like, every day of my life I was consumed by, I wish I could find something on TV that, like, was exactly the Hercules. And then I remember flipping through the channels. Swear to God, this is exactly, it's like it was fate. And then all of a sudden I see this horned beast standing up, half man, half human. All of a sudden I see a minotaur just standing in what looked like a cave, running around chasing some dude who looked like a modern day Viking. I'm like, what is happening right now? I could not believe it. It was Maze of the Minotaur, one of the made-for-TV movies that came out that Universal put out with Sorbo. Yeah, they put out like a handful of them, like 4 or 5 or whatever. It was Hercules
before they
the
started
Amazon
the TV
Women.
show.
Right, Maze of the Minotaur, a couple of other ones. They were all great, and then that's when Renaissance and Universal then they started because originally it was only going to be those movies, and then they did well, and they decided to do a show. And religiously watched that show. I mean, I have all the DVDs. I've watched that show, every episode and all the movies, maybe 10 trillion times in my life.
That's amazing.
So that really, and then all the spin-off shows came after, not even just Xena, but then you had Sinbad, you had the ripped surfer dude, Daniel Goddard as Beastmaster or whatever it was.
Wait, those were spin-offs from those shows?
I mean, Hercules definitely started that. Hercules
started
was
that
first.
Yeah,
it was not a spin. Not the same world or anything, but but that definitely started that whole thing.
Yes,
Conan on UPN 9, which was complete and utter trash. But
I'm so happy you mentioned that show because I forgot about that show for good reason.
That was rough. But like the best form of escapism for me was watching Hercules every Saturday at 8 p.m. on Channel 11. And I mean, Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert, it was mostly, I think, Tappert. I don't know how much Raimi really had to do with it, but you had guys like Bruce Campbell in it, Ted Raimi acting in it, just a lot of really
Carl
good.
Urban.
Rob Trevor, Carl Urban.
Yep.
Right? As Cupid.
And he was like, 2 characters too, I think. He was like Cupid.
A lot of them doubled or tripled as.
Yeah.
He was Cupid and
some like a human like warrior guy. I remember him being like all in black.
Was he? I actually don't.
Let's see. This is what happens on the show. We just go down these
rabbit holes.
Yeah, and back in the day, we used to play a lot of trailers and stuff, and YouTube just kept pulling every single thing. And I remember one day in particular, it was let me hit the screen share on this one. One day we did a whole bunch of like new like trailers for like Marvel movies and stuff, and YouTube pulled me on like damn Time Tracks trailer. Like I'm like,
oh my
of all the things, this is what you're gonna get me on. He played Julius Caesar and Cupid.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, and Meal in one episode and Core. What was I thinking of?
I wonder what episodes were those.
Oh, I'm thinking.
Man, I literally watched this show, and even on reruns, like throughout my entire 20s and early 30s. It was only up until the past couple of years where I stopped watching this thing. But it's crazy how quickly you can forget something. Tony Todd was Gilgamesh, also great. I remember that heel turn was crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
He got me as a little kid. I was like, no, I can't believe you're portraying Hercules all the way deep into this one.
Such a good show.
I mean, it was that was a great show. That was a very well. I thought that show was really, really well done. The tongue was planted firmly in the cheek on that show.
Yes.
But it was a nice balance of everything. It was my introduction to Greek myth. The loosely based Greek myth.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, shows like that. Real sets.
No.
One of the things I love about Mandalorian too, it's kind of reminded me of that, reminiscent of the actual real sets, not green screens. And
yes,
you're in Auckland, New Zealand. You're in a rainforest. You're on a beach. You're in the mountains. You're somewhere, and you're actually shooting live like that, which definitely adds to everything.
It feels different. It feels different when you're doing it.
Yeah. So that was definitely, that show stuck with me. I mean, forever. To me, that's my favorite TV show of all time. There's literally nothing that can actually top that for me. So,
I was gonna say,
but I have all the toys too.
I think the shark jump was that season when it was like that and Xena, I feel like they jumped the same time. With him, it was like, I think when he became a god. And then with her, she, was it that Gabrielle had died and she went to hell to bring her back?
Gabrielle died, and yes. Wow,
like,
I'm actually completely, it's completely over my head that you actually have watched.
It's in there. It's buried in there.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Not too many people I can talk to about this.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But yes, agreed. I mean those Sovereign episodes with Sorbo, I think that might have been, and then when Aeolus dies but then comes back.
Yes.
Those were all great episodes. Those were crazy. But yes, I think when he became a god, he got sick late into the show. Really sick, and then he had to take a hiatus. That's why you didn't see him for a while. And Michael Hurst did a lot of the heavy lifting there. Mm-hmm. And then I think that changed the dynamic of the show. And then when he came back, he couldn't do, I think, certain things. So he was doing all his own stunts, I think, for them, 99% of them. But yeah, I mean, that's one show I would have been happy to see another, 6 seasons of, and then he went on to do Andromeda. So
he did. And I was thinking of the movie, and I was like, oh wait, that wasn't Hercules. That was like Krull the Conqueror. Or
he did Call, yeah, around that time with Tia Carrere,
yeah. Question from the audience: did you ever watch the D&D cartoon?
I did, and yes, I did. Good question, Nate, and yes, I did. I don't think so. That cartoon for me didn't resonate as much because I think it was a little too young for it to, I would go back and watch it afterwards, and it was obviously different. I think with Hercules, it came out at the perfect time. I was in 7th grade, 8th grade. Also, Magic the Gathering just came out. I started playing that. It was just at that perfect time where I could actually process what was going on. I had started developing opinions and acquiring a taste for things that I like, genres and themes and stuff. So yeah, I think for me, the sword and sorcery show of all time will always be Hercules. And then, the Beastmaster movies, the Arnold Conan movies, Willow, all of that stuff during that time. It's just unbeatable. That's all unbeatable stuff. And it really leads me to modern day, and the things that I love and to collect. I mean, Mythic Legions obviously being one of them, but Star Wars, Kenner Black Series, Kenner Star Wars figures, same thing. But I started getting into those very, very late 80s as well. I remember my dad had bought some figures for me, Return of the Jedi figures for me, and then I was able to go back or my parents were able to go back and get me some of the other ones, for certain, holidays and stuff. I wasn't I wasn't the kid that just got random toys all the time to shove me up. Like my parents, tried to raise me right. And then unfortunately, look what happened, I guess. But, so it was just every Christmas I'd look forward to, something. It wouldn't even necessarily be a big place, but a couple of things. I wanted both Crash Test Dummies cars as a kid. Still to this day, never ever got both. I only got the friggin' red one. Everyone had the blue one. The blue one. Only got the red one, but my mom bought me the motorcycle and stuff too. So okay. One. Maybe I remember. Turtles were $3 at Toys R Us, and $3 went a long way back then. Yeah. And my mom would be like, yeah, you can have one, but not both. And that's oh, how many? You want 3? Okay, you can have one. It's those sort of deals. So I actually did look forward to everything that I had. But I think that's probably why now that I have a little scratch, it's just
that's it.
It's over. Before it started. Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, problem's a stretch, but I have a toy hunt coming out this weekend, the season finale of Toy Hunt.
Nice.
And behind me here is a old school 1989 metalhead that Billy got me in the chat here. And I was saying in that we get all these things because we want to almost recapture the feeling we had when we had that stuff. You look at it and it just takes you back to that happy moment, that happy time. Or, you gave the example of going to Toys R Us. For me, it was every other Friday. My dad would take me to Toys R Us over on Bruckner Boulevard in the Bronx.
Okay, New York guy. Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
And I remember it was like $5.99, I think, was like the action figure price. And, you know, it was watching Hercules and then being like, oh, I wish I had a Hercules toy, and going to Toys R Us and getting to buy Hercules with the soft cloth vest that came off. And then eventually
there were like 9 different variants of him in that.
Oh,
line,
yeah. And they were great figures. It was great figures, but it meant a lot to have that. Like, that's all you had until the next episode. There was no internet to like watch things. You just had to make it up in your head, you know?
Yeah. And it's no different now. You go and watch The Mandalorian. You want a Mando figure. You want a Mando statue. You want a Mando shirt. There's literally no difference except for, you know, we're in the information age and we have everything at our fingertips, and it's just a lot easier to hit the buy button, I guess. But which is why toy hunting is so much fun to me. You know, it's a hobby in and of itself. The hobby of actually going out and hunting things down, looking to find things, and I enjoy the process of that, obviously. So I collect mostly for nostalgia.
Yes, exactly.
Anything that tickles my nostalgia bone. That's really what I go after. And anyone that has seen the stuff on my channel and that will eventually see it all displayed, it's everything, you know, that we've been talking about. A lot of my toys, really, like, I don't have a lot of modern stuff. If you look at the things that I collect or buy, it's either original molds recasted, like Motu Origins, right, with very minor tweaks.
Yeah.
Or things based on original, you know, toy lines or shows like Cartoon Turtles.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really those two main and Star Wars stuff. That's the only real modern thing that I have. But everything else, you know, even with wrestling, I barely pick at wrestling because I'm really only going after the old guys that are made. Right. And even older toy lines, you know, inspired lines from older toys. But yeah, I mean, like, most of my stuff is as far as toys go, I'm more of a vintage collector, I think, than I am anything else. Marvel Legends, same thing. It's just like I only pick out the things that I want. I don't collect MCU anything at all. I never will. I'm a comic based guy there. So but a lot of the stuff that I go hard off, I mean, it's like, and now they know their audience. NECA, everybody does. Yeah. So it's just like, how many Turtles lines can we get these idiots to buy? You know, in a different, you got the Ultimates and the cartoon and the movie and the 5.5 inch and the set.
And then the variants and then
oh my God, Lee.
Yeah.
So it just, you know, you have your hands full. If you're a Turtles guy, you have your hands full with just that alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so Spawn, same thing. As a kid, had some Spawn figures. Now we're getting the McFarlane, has been killing it lately, for sure, with everything he's put out, for the most part. You know, I was a little disappointed in the first Build-A-Figure. He was like, I'm like, oh man, he's doing so good. And then that Bane Build-A-Figure came out, and I'm just like, what is this crap? But then, like, since then, I mean, those Build-A-Figures have been, well, that's just my opinion, but you know, I don't like the compression stuff. Doesn't ever seem to work. But yeah, I mean, like, he got me with the Dark Knight stuff. That's arguably my favorite Batman. So
good.
Yeah.
He nails it on some of those.
Yeah, and he's always good with the big boys too. The big fig, the mega figs.
Yeah.
He's got the Witcher Ice Troll that's out now too, which looks awesome.
Yeah.
You can get that bloodied up as well, but
and
I can go on. Yeah.
You picked up something nice today that I haven't got a chance to watch the video yet. Let me see if I can find. I don't want anyone to spoil it as far as the video, the hunting goes. But there was a big boy you got from
I did
McFarlane today.
Yeah.
Is there like, for you, because everybody, first of all, if you've not subscribed to him, what are you doing? Link down in the description. For like the bigger figures like that, like, again, I'm not gonna say what it is because people should watch, but for the larger like McFarlane figures, are you planning on having a section of just like, this is DC, this is Star Wars, this is Marvel, or is it like the bigger figures are here, the 6-inch are here, 3/4 are here? Like, what's the game plan with this? I know you don't want to call it that, but it's kind of going to be like it's your emotional museum. I would say.
Yeah. Whatever you want. It is my museum. It's just going to be a smaller one than bigger, at least for what I'm doing, for sure. Know your craft, by the way. I remember old Herc couldn't tell you one thing that happened in the. Yeah, I mean, like, I get it. Look, dude, it's I've watched it a trillion times over, and there are still things. It's like, my brain is I'm so fried at this point. Maybe too many hops to the head, too many, coffees to the face. I don't know what it is, but it's just the key moments.
Ryan Gosling, no,
in my mind.
The movie.
Yeah, Young Herc.
Or was it the movie different and the TV show was Ryan Gosling?
So I had this conversation / argument with 1000th Ghost, shout out to him, like a year ago, because it turns out I think we were both right. Ian Bow something. He played young Hercules on the show, but I do think Ryan Gosling played young Herc. He played young Herc, I think at first or something, and then they switched over to the Ian dude who was also in like a gum commercial at the time. Ian, I want to say it starts with a B. Normally I would know that, I could rattle that off in 2 seconds, but that's how. Turn 39 and everything goes to complete garbage. I don't know.
It goes out the window, yeah.
But dude, it's bad. Ian something.
Let's see if I go cast. Will that tell me? Season 1. All right, so Ryan was
started
the
off
show.
He was also let me see, Young Herc.
But I could
because
I could see the other guy in my head.
Because he did the it was Ian Bowen. Wow, I was right.
Oh, you found it?
It is Ian Bowen. Okay, because I was gonna be like, it's not Cohen, but it's definitely Bowen, but not Bowen.
Oh yes.
So he played it in the film, I think, but he also he was in the crossover episodes, the actual Hercules crossover episodes, as well. So on Hercules, whenever they did like a flashback to young Hercules, it was him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gosling was the show was a little confusing. Yeah, they had guys just in and out on some of this stuff.
That's crazy. It just takes me back too.
He kind of looks like, what's his face, JC Chazé from NSYNC now on that one.
He kind of does, right?
Like from a distance. I don't know from here before you click on him. I don't
I you know what? These conversations like spark memories that were like filed away in the mental cabinet. I remember thinking that's who that was. I remember thinking like, oh, that's the dude from Young Hercules. Yeah. As you said that, like it just came back 8th grade, 1998 in the head. It was just, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
The old times. Yeah.
So what about wrestling? Tell me about because you're collecting the more classic stuff, as you mentioned, and not necessarily like the Mattel waves, but you're getting like the older figures. So like, what era of wrestling was like your jam? Or outside of Attitudes? I feel like everybody loved Attitude.
Attitude Era is what I grew up with. Really grew up with as a teen.
Yep.
And to me, that was my golden age of wrestling. But
yeah.
It was really like, how do you top going from, the golden era of the Hogan Warrior, WrestleMania 6.
Yeah.
All these larger than life characters, and watching that transition from that going stale to turning into more, live reality television with the NWO, and that to me, that was my time. Was 95, 96, the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah.
Nitro Raw. And the Outsiders showed up on WCW on TNT on Ted Turner TV. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about mind-blowing sensory overload stuff? It's like, we never saw that, breaking kayfabe, all the stuff that it's just like, wow, what is going on here?
You had to, because if you missed it, that was it.
And I think also it's like one of those things where it's like, that also can never, like, that will never ever be duplicated ever again, because you not only had a certain point in time, but you had guys that just don't exist anymore. Unfortunately, physically, but just in general, like, they were all kind of like nuts.
Yeah.
And like, I think there were partial truths to some of those things that went on, the storylines, the personal vendettas, and they were able to just like, it was kind of the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
And we were watching like a pseudo real soap opera unfold like in a ring every week. And like, so there were just elements to that which we're never going to see again, because society as a whole is just, it's very different. you know, what it's soft, it's a lot, whatever you want to call it. It
Yeah.
is not that anymore,
Yeah.
for better or for worse. So I think for me, you know, arguing with my friends, what's better, WWF or WCW? I was a,
Yes.
you know, I was a WWF guy, of course. So me and like my buddy literally would get into like physical arguments over this stuff
Yeah.
every day. How, you know,
Yeah.
Goldberg versus Austin, this and that,
Yes.
who's stronger, blah 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 blah. It just never ended.
And the
But
only
that was
way to
great.
do it.
Reading all the dirt sheets and stuff, Mr. Tito
Yes.
online with his review, all of this stuff. At the pizza shop, just talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, you know, so you're talking about 95 to into the early 2000s, but
Yeah.
from 95 to 2000, man, forget it. That's WCW versus NWO,
Mhm.
the THQ games, you know, WWE 2K.
Oh,
You know,
N64.
just a lot of times N64, sitting there making your characters, making
Yes,
your
for
intros.
hours. Yep.
Hours
the
and
intros.
hours and hours. Oh, my
Game
goodness.
changer. Game changer with the intros.
You know, it's, you know, you had to be, we always tried to like mimic what we were in real life. So the arguments about who's strong enough to do this, and I had power bombs as my weak grapples and shit, you know, just like hurting guys' feelings with stuff. It was crazy. That was a really good time. So for me, as much as growing up with, you know, Hogan and Warrior and all of that stuff, and I'll never forget my first ever event was at the Garden.
Mhm.
And on a Saturday night, I actually went with my buddy and his dad. Took us, and I watched the Rockers get smashed by Demolition. And the main event was the model came out. He wasn't the main event, but I watched him wrestle. I forgot who he wrestled. But the main event was Hogan versus Earthquake. And
Wow.
yeah, and that was I just will never. And then we went to Patsy's in Brooklyn for pizza.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget that. You know, those are crazy moments. But for sure, mid '90s into early 2000s, you know, unbeatable for me. You know?
It's funny. We had like the same exact story. I wasn't at that because I never saw Hogan wrestle in real life. But one of my first events was with my friend because his dad took us to go at the Garden. Went out for Pizza Hut afterwards. And
Nice.
actually, we went to Westchester for Pizza Hut because there were no Pizza Huts in the 5 boroughs.
Did you go to the one on Central Avenue?
I think I went to the one on Central Avenue.
It's the
sure.
only one. It was the only one. Has to be.
Coolest moment of my life because I was like, holy, just like the commercials.
That one really was. Really was.
And but I remember that, you know, now I know it's called, you know, the pop, the audience pop. But when that bell goes off, when Undertaker comes out and the lights cut, I swear to God, I was like, as a child, the hairs on the back of my neck just were like up.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. This is like the greatest thing ever. And that I was hard in it the same period as you, like 95 to 2000, and rushing home on a Saturday afternoon to watch, like, you had WCW on like TBS on Saturday, and then you also had WWF at that point. And I remember that tipping point was like Mankind. Like, I remember I saw Mankind put the claw on somebody, and he did that scream and ripped his hair out, and I was like looking at like my Hogan figure. I'm like, what is this? It was wild.
Yeah, dude. It was, and you had wrestling almost every night of the week when you think about it. You had Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
You had Nitro.
Yep.
Then Thursday you had Thunder.
Yep.
And eventually you had SmackDown.
Yep.
And then you also, which you can't forget, and to me, this was also something that just completely drew me in, and it turned out to be the minor leagues for WWF at the time, but ECW.
I was like praying that's what you were gonna say.
ECW.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys are from Tommy Dreamer's from Yonkers.
Yes. Yeah.
You have some local guys here too. Taz is from Brooklyn.
Yep.
And I mean, so to watch that, you know, I'd watch that on TNN at like 2 a.m. on like a Saturday. I'm just like, and I remember finding out about that, and I'm just like, for the first time, and I'm watching this, and I'm just like, this is on Rob Van Dam, well beyond his time as a wrestler. Sabu, a lot of those guys were way beyond their years. They could be if they were as young as these guys now,
Yeah.
you know, their skill sets are the same, or in my opinion, I enjoyed watching those guys more than
Yeah.
anything, really. Like
Yeah.
ECW events were crazy. I did go to one in Hammerstein in '98, which was
Ooh.
crazy. I watched someone throw an NES at Sandman, an actual console at Sandman.
Wait,
the
is that
Hammerstein
the classic video of him coming out top of the balcony?
I
drinking-
wish. No, it's not.
Oh.
I mean, he did that, but it wasn't that.
It wasn't that.
It wasn't
one.
that.
Well, it
No,
wasn't
no,
the
no.
Dudley Boy one. Okay.
No. That would have been no. But yeah, dude, someone actually threw. I'm just like, the guy was like 2 feet away from me. He had a con. I didn't even realize that what was going on. It was like in a. It wasn't even. It was like in a like a giant sock, like a stocking.
Yeah.
The guy I thought was gonna soap and sock him. He takes
Yeah.
it. I just see from the side of my eye some like weird motion. The dude takes this thing out. I'm like, what is it, like a tray of cannolis or something?
Yeah.
Friggin' NES, and he throws it at him. I couldn't believe it. The amount of that is one show. You want to talk about insane? That
Yes.
really, that was as is. Like,
Yeah.
no protective flooring anywhere. Those guys were really, really crazy. But like I said, like I love Taz. You know, all the human suplex machine. Like watching him, you know, was great. You know, Van Damme, Sabu,
Yeah.
every single one of those guys. Mikey Whipwreck, you know, Balls Mahoney. Like they were all enjoyable to watch. Chris Candido, I think, you know, franchise. Shane Douglas, you know, in ECW was definitely at his best. But all those guys really spent time there. So
Yeah.
Austin spent time there. Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. And that was another cool thing too. Is like Vince was kind of like, you know, from what it seems, and I understand, was funding ECW on the side to keep that going, and then to see those guys show up on Raw sometimes, and then the crossovers.
Yeah.
Which is why I think like the crossover toy hunting stuff. You know, I equate a lot of this stuff to wrestling. It's like, you know, for anyone that actually follows along and watches it, stuff like people like to see worlds cross and collide, and
Yeah.
and I think that is, and it's fun to do it, you know. So I know, like as a wrestling fan, like what more could you have ever wanted but to actually watch that happen, watch all that stuff happen until Vince bought everything and things kind of changed around 2008.
Yeah.
But 7-8, but yeah.
I remember when Taz came out on. I feel like my wrestling knowledge is limited to that window that we're talking about. So somebody else could correct me if they know the answer. Maybe you might know. I feel like he debuted on SmackDown. Yeah, I feel like he came.
He debuted in New York at the Garden against Kurt Angle. I want to say, yeah.
And maybe I don't know if it was SmackDown or something, but it was like, it was
choked him out.
Yeah, but it was weird because I was like, who is this guy? And my friend was like, yes, like Taz
Me
from
too.
ECW, and I'm like, what's ECW? He's like, this game I've been playing, and I'm like, what? And then like we loaded on PlayStation. That was the shittiest game ever, but you could bloody your character, and I was like, what is this?
That was a terrible. That game was unplayable. It was unplayable.
Yes. Yeah.
The collision detection, it didn't exist. There wasn't any.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was one of those, like, you know, even when a couple episodes ago, I was talking about, I probably talk about this too much, but Dragon Ball Z at like 5 a.m. on Channel 11, you know, it's like there were certain things that like were out of the normal watch times, and you were like the cooler kid for finding it, and nobody else could find it because if they missed it, there's no replay, there's no internet, there's no nothing. And ECW was that thing.
Well, it was in that time slot, that time frame. So for me, it's like ECW on TNN.
Yeah.
Infomercials like Chef Tony, Al Zaire with Ron Jeremy, the Magic Pill.
Yeah.
The Magic Bullet. These random like fake like Aussies like talking about some shit you could whip anything up in this fucking thing. Like those things like will never die. That's what we used to do. It's like me and my buddies would like watch all that shit. And then in the middle of like playing like Heroes 2 of Might and Magic, or at the time EverQuest, for me.
EverQuest, God.
So that was another you know, defining moment, no pun intended, with wrestling toy lines, but that was another defining moment for me in my life, which was finding that game. 1999, The Runes of Kunark had just come out, the first expansion for EverQuest, and another mind-blowing moment. So like we were like my buddies and I, like I was playing Ultima Online at the time, in all the IRC channels and shit, and like and playing through the saga.
Yeah.
I'm an old dog, so I'm playing through the saga,
Yep.
the Ultima Saga, which if anyone can tell me what part of my name, my handle, my alias, my moniker here on YouTube, where that's from, I will be your best friend. The first part of it. And if you can pronounce it correctly, I'll give you a toy away, even though no one can say anything. But yes.
It's out to the chat.
But yeah, so like Ultima 7 is my favorite offline role-playing game of all time. Sentri is French because Richard Garriott, the creator of Ultima, he actually used all of his friends as his party members. So, and Sentri was one of them. He was a human fighter. So me and one of my buddies in particular, we were playing through Ultima 7 like it's not a game that's meant to be beaten. And we were like in 8th grade, we were just like playing through it together on the phone. That's how interactive. That's as interactive as you were going to get.
Yeah.
We eventually graduated to Ultima Online, and then EverQuest came out, which is a totally different kind of game. And that was right around the time Diablo 2 came out.
Yeah, it was.
Which also just starts like, fuck. Yeah. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, suddenly I have all these games that I want to play, and it's like, you know, if I rage quit one, I just hop to the other, and vice versa. And EverQuest took. I mean, if you want to talk about immersive, persistent worlds like that game to me, Sorbo Hercules favorite show of all time. EverQuest favorite game of all time, hands down. Nothing can even touch that. I'm a big role RPG guy, so I was playing a lot of Japanese RPGs at the time, a lot of American ones too. But the Ultima Saga, by far and away, my favorite. EverQuest MMO. Everything's based off that. WoW, down to the font and text colors of chat channels in those games, all based on EverQuest. And if anyone wants to challenge me on that, let's go. I'm old enough to do that. I'm telling you, I've been around since the internet was born.
Yes, we have been.
You can't challenge me on it, folks. Yeah. I've got at least 10 years on everybody here. So
I love it.
So at that time, it was crazy, man. You had like wrestling, you know, popping off at all the things we're talking about, all of these games, like groundbreaking, very authentic, unique things happening. Brad McQuaid, you know, unfortunately he, you know, rest in peace. He, really the father of EverQuest, the creator of that game. You know, those the original game and the first couple of expansions, Runes of Kunark and Scars of Velius, incredible game. I mean, that's why their emulator progression server's still up now that people play. It's just one of those games you can get lost in, and it's not about like, you know, the fanciest. I don't like fancy graphics. I like super polygonal stuff that like you know, your imagination still has to work in. It's not just like an interactive cutscene. You know, you're just like dropped into a world. You're naked. You have like some shitty one-handed knife and like a cloth tunic, and you have to go do stuff. And no one's going to help you. And there's no thing above someone's head to go talk to them or whatever. Like, you have to spend the time to do it. And different time. You know, it's like reflective in like all these different areas: toys, games, you know, pop culture, just different. You know?
I love that. And it may be a New York thing, I'm not sure, but like you're saying all the same things that like I was experiencing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was in the Bronx, so not too far away, but again, I was
born in Albert Einstein.
There you go. I was Beth Israel.
Oh, nice. Yeah. My family, I mean, like we moved from Country Club when I was 5 to Westchester.
There you go.
So
you're the
family down there.
You're the rich kids over in Country Club.
No, we were not. No, we weren't poor, but we were not rich. No. My father was dirt ass poor growing up in the Bronx as a kid. I mean, like 5 kids piled into one room, no air conditioner, one window. You know, it was parents fresh off the boat. Mom didn't work. You know, dad was a tailor here who barely spoke any English. They were poor. We were not poor, but we definitely were not rich, you know. So they did everything for us, you know.
I went to Mount St. Michael for high school.
Oh, you did? Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I remember like the Country Club bus. It wasn't like crowded. Like I remember like seeing like a couple of the kids get on there, and we'd be like, "Oh, those must be the rich kids going out there." One of them, long behold, Ronnie from Jersey Shore. We were classmates.
Oh my God.
He lived out
No
there.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Cause see, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But when you mentioned EverQuest, I was thinking. So I wasn't heavy into that for some odd reason. I was trying to be the ECW of that, right? Like EverQuest, Phantasy Star Online, like these things were like dominating the schools. Like elementary school was like more EverQuest, and then high school was like Phantasy Star and Final Fantasy, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I thought I was cool because I was rolling in Tribes 2 on PC. And then
oh my goodness.
and then eventually we got ourselves a Dreamcast and freaking Unreal Tournament. Sitting there, dude, sitting there. I had a TV that was probably, the screen was like probably that big. Tube TV. And I was able to scratch together. First of all my games are bootleg on Dreamcast. Dreamcast was the easiest system to bootleg. But I spent I saved up to like $40 and got the Dreamcast keyboard because that was the only way you could talk to other people was on the keyboard.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like playing drop controller type drop. And I was
Dude,
like,
you had to play Unreal on PC. That's where you play that. That's where you play that. That's where you have to play that game.
I don't even know if I had a good enough PC for that. I think Tribes 2 was like my last like PC game that I was playing religiously, and my mom would be like, "You get off! Like I'm trying to use the phone." Like it was like that era.
The dial-up
era. But I remember this one kid. I won't name drop him in case I don't know. It's so many years later, but this dude was the plug in high school. Like if you wanted adult VHSs, you wanted weapons.
There's always one of those guys.
Yeah, you wanted weapons for Phantasy Star Online. You wanted anime. You went to this kid's locker. He had everything. And but I remember like them all like going hard on EverQuest and like having conversations about like things that happened. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what is this? And I finally got to see some friends play it. I went to their house, but sadly, I never got a chance to like actually go in on EverQuest. Did EverQuest port to PlayStation at some point, like PS2 or something?
Yeah, not the same.
Wasn't as good. All right.
No, it was completely. It was just made for. It was fun. It was cool, but
yeah,
no. EverQuest is the definition, the epitome of grind game. Crazy. The hell levels in that game, level 46, level 51, level 59. Those were all even level 55. Those like you talk about things you'll never forget. Like those were. I mean, at the time they could take you months to actually get, especially if you played like I played a melee class.
Mm-hmm.
So I played a dwarf warrior was my main on one of the original servers called Torvanalis, and I literally had to run, like it would take me 15 to 20 real-time minutes to run from like one town to another town, then get on a boat and sit on the boat, literally watch myself jerk off and watch myself on a boat that didn't actually go anywhere for another 15 minutes, to then get off and run somewhere else to take another 10 minutes, to then go and try to find a group that needed a tank. And then I have to sit there and wait for that, and then get in a group, and then if the group sucked and we all die, then I have to go run back from the other continent and get my shit again. So it's like that's easily 5 hours of nothing, and then suddenly my sister wants to use the internet. It's like, well, you can absolutely positively go fuck yourself.
She had to get on MySpace and make sure to log into AIM. Like
she had to go on AOL to talk to one person. It's like, I have better things to do than you fucking, than your so stupid social life.
I love it. Kids these days don't know. They have no idea. No idea.
None. But yeah, EverQuest was great. Definitely a slower game, but I enjoyed that. And again, I think it relates to toy hunting too. It's a grind,
Yeah.
It's like it's a labor of love that you either like it or you don't. There's no in between. I saw Sleeping mentioned Unreal Tournament on PC was his intro to FPS.
Yeah.
Doom was my intro.
Doom
1, the first Doom, and then Half-Life came out.
Yeah.
So I used to play that. We used to join games, me and my buddies, on through GameSpy. We used to just play Two Fort. Yeah.
Holy shit.
We used to play Two Fort.
Yeah.
And just snipe. There was a sniping map and we would play that, join games on GameSpy, and then Counter-Strike came out.
Yeah.
And then right around the time Counter-Strike came out, that's when Unreal came out. And I just remember playing Unreal Tournament. I'm like, this is really cool. Like everything was, the gameplay was smooth, but it was like so arcadey.
Yeah.
You know, it was like a very arcade, you know, an arcade feel to it compared to Half-Life and Counter-Strike and stuff. But Doom was my my first forays in FPS. I mostly enjoyed sticking with my role-playing games though, whether it's console or PC or real-time strategy, you know.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, we can go on for hours, but I wanna bring all of that together into one thing. I'm gonna ask you a question. No, I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna lower the music down for this.
Okay.
Convince the toy hunters in this audience, including myself, why do we need mythic legions?
There is no convincing. If you go, have you seen them? There's
only in the videos. Only in the videos.
Only in the videos.
Yeah.
If you're into high fantasy, you literally have no other option. But so to me, they are arguably the most bang for your buck that you'll get paint and sculpt from, I think, a toy line out there. They are doing some of the most, again, arguably the most different sort of stuff out there. They have, without question, unequivocally, the most customizable sub-community within itself that you'll find out there. They're probably the most customizable figure that you'll get, which is why you have groups like the Cabal, my action figures, all these guys out there. That a lot of the guys that you saw in those rooms in the Toylanta video, those were not, like, there was only one table really of actual Mythic Legions. Everything else, those were all custom things. So the amount of customization is endless. And to me, what is action figure? Like, having an action figure display and collecting them, to me, it's about doing something unique, doing something fun.
Yeah.
The most fun I could possibly have is having a super customizable, something different, unique, authentic setup than to you or anyone else.
Yeah.
That really speaks to me and the things that I really like about a specific genre. So to me, there is no other toy line out there that you can do that with and play with than Mythic Legions, you know, for some of those reasons. So for all of those reasons. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
I think somebody deserves a Mythic Legion sponsorship. That's all I'm saying on that one right there.
Also, yes, I agree. Yeah. And that or it's Donut Delight, just whichever one comes first. But I think
wait for everything there or just the coffee?
The coffee. I'll take the coffee. It's just the coffee.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Savage Crucible is a new toy line. I also have, it's also in the Toylanta video. I have like a reel on it in my Instagram. So if Mythic Legions is something that you guys are interested in, obviously go check that out, of course. They also have something called Cosmic Legions now too, which is space centered. But if you're into the high fantasy stuff, so that's actually a Cosmic Legions post right there on the left, second row. Yeah, so those are, I'm not getting into Cosmic Legions, but I did buy these two. But the Savage Crucible is a new toy line coming out. It's like an offshoot of Mythic Legions, sort of similar sort of deal, but just different art and you know, wizards, warriors, humanoids, all that stuff. And it's very exciting looking. So like they had some lizard men, some dwarves that they were sampled the prototypes at Toylanta. That's also something coming out. So if you're not interested in, you know, playing catch up with certain Mythic Legions things, they also have All-Star Waves where they go back and you vote on stuff that was missed that's really popular that you can go back and get at retail. Mythic Legions does that. But if it's a brand new toy line that you want that's similar to Mythic Legions, Savage Crucible, check that out on Instagram because that's coming and that could actually, not going to say better, but it is definitely part of the evolution of, I think, high fantasy toys.
Dude, don't ruin the sponsorship. We're working on getting you that Mythic sponsorship. Don't ruin it.
I know. Yeah, no, I'm not a marketing guy. I'm a tech guy. I'm all over the place.
Actually, last thing, I forgot to say the story at the top of why it means so much that you're on the show today. I'll put the music back on just so it's not weird. I discovered you because actually that's what I usually do too, is I tell people like how I discovered them. OG Geek was like the first toy hunter that like YouTube suggested, and I was like, oh, what's this? Like, what's going on? So I started watching his stuff, and then you cameoed in one of his videos in Florida.
Yes.
And I thought it was a great episode. There was like a joke they said, and like you didn't catch the joke, and like he was like, "Oh, I'm kidding, man," and you're like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, for some reason, I thought it was hilarious. So that led me to your channel, and I started to go all in on the channel, and then of course all the other toy hunters were popping up on my stream and all that stuff. But you did something that I was like, I think I'm starting to make it here. And you commented on a video. I hadn't said anything in any of your videos. I hadn't done a single thing, but like you showed up in one of my videos in the comment section, and I was like, wow. I was like, you see like me. So I will always remember that, and I will say that to every YouTuber. Like, comment on videos. Like, if you're liking somebody's content, comment on it, because you just never know. That will like influence somebody or motivate somebody, and you are one of the people who motivated me to keep the toy hunting going. So I will say thank you.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
That's why it means a lot that you're here.
Awesome to hear. Yeah, dude. It means a lot to me that I'm here, and you know, for me, that's what this is a shining example of what it's about. You know, for me, and when I started this channel, it was about meeting good folks like yourself and a lot of these guys in the chat now, and it's about collecting and connecting and community. The 3 C's I talk about it all the time. But it is that is what it is. It's about that. It's about camaraderie and sharing, you know, the passion for this hobby, and all of this other junk that sometimes you can get lost in. That's all that it is. It's nonsense. It's nonsense to me. Yeah. So there's nothing that's ever going to stop me from acknowledging something that I like or someone that I like in any way. So yeah, you have nothing to thank me for. I mean, like you deserved it, and for whatever it's worth, you earned my whatever sub, attention, anything. Like it's you put out good stuff. I like it. It's like you're gonna know, you know. So that's all that it is, and you do. So as long as you're having fun with it, dude, that's all that matters. How much it catches on, or when it catches on, or even if it catches, whether you reach 1 person, 1,000 people, 100,000 people, everyone has their own agenda, like most things in life. But you can't really worry about that. If you're having fun, you're putting out quality stuff that's real, and real to you and authentic. At the end of the day, that's all that matters, and that shows, and people will recognize that, in my opinion. You know. To get preachy, but, you know.
You got to come on again. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the growth. We'll talk about all that stuff. To wrap it up, sir, as I like to say for everybody, this is your time to, of course, as the fans know, plug yo shit, sir.
Oh, gee whiz, gee willikers. Well, there you go. There you have it. You got the old Instagram handle right there, right below my furry chin. That also will have a link to my link tree with my very terrible, I need to update it, Teespring stuff, which you just completely ignore that. And then but a link to my YouTube channel is there too if you're interested. Right now it's mostly toy hunts, toy hauls, some collection videos in this dark, dank, sketchy basement, which I plan to be changing over very soon. I have my first quote, thankfully, for something, so we should be starting a build out soon. And you'll see additional content once that's up eventually, like live streams, not as good as this, but I'll be going live with my pals like HeyArcher and others, and statue content as well. But right now, you're just going to see me running around like a lunatic, a frantic maniac, trying to find plastic in the tri-state area.
I love it. I love it. Shout out shout out to the tri-state area, of course. That toy hunting is rough. That's tough. Dude.
Yeah, that rush hour traffic is fucking real.
Yeah, you are the real one. You, the poppin' couple, real grinders.
Yeah, dude.
Real grinders out there.
Good people right there.
Dude, thank you so much. Thank all of you for being here. Everybody in the chat today, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, or Twitch, the 2 YouTube channels, like, you all make this channel what it is. You help make Ron's channel what it is. It's all about us as a community. I appreciate that. HeyArcher Live will be back in a couple weeks. But in the meantime, Ron can hold you over with some content. Links will be down below in the description. I appreciate all of you. I cheers to all of you. Episode 100 in the books. And you know what? Here's to episode 1000, 1 million, and Ron's first HeyArcher, or sorry, the Sentri live show. You'll come up with a title. You'll do your thing.
I gotta come back because this is terrible. I have to now with an adult beverage.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. We'll prep
silly
it.
Stuff over here. Yeah.
Hey, from the Nerd Affiliated fam, we will talk to all you nerds in the next episode. This guy coming straight from DR. I will be in DR to see him in 2 days. I love it. I love it. Cool. Talk to all you nerds in the next video. I said in the next video. Peace.